My Hero Academia Season 5 Episode 24 is out, and with this new episode we get to witness the thrilling conclusion to the woeful war between the League of Villains and the Meta Liberation Army. Will Shigaraki pull it out of the bag, or will he fall to Re-Destro's unwavering spirit? Oh, he pulls it out of the bag alright. This episode covers 4 chapters from the My Hero manga, following the events of chapters 237, 238, 239, and 240. And so, without further ado, let's jump right into My Hero Academia Season 5 Episode 24, titled Tomura Shigaraki Origin. And as usual, don't forget to Detroit smash that like button and slide into that subscribe button's DMs to hit that notification bell. This episode opens up exactly where the last episode left off, with a young Tenko Shimura wandering the city streets looking for help after essentially Thanos-snapping his entire family out of existence. Unfortunately for the young boy, who now looks like he can see into your soul, no one he met was willing to lend a helping hand. No one except for All For One. The story then jumps forward a small bit where we see an honestly more healthy looking Tenko who is, after being taken in from the street by All For One, being knocked down and berated by some drunk hooligans. Tenko initially goes to kill the goons, but he holds himself back, choosing not to exact his revenge. Once Tomura gets home, he begins to horribly spasm and itch on the ground, and I mean like uncomfortably so, as All For One tells him not to be restrained by society or morality, and to just do whatever he wants. After hearing this, Tenko, with memories of his dear old papa still flooding through his mind, manages to pull himself off the ground and claw his way over to the hands of his family members, which are still neatly on the table in the room. Once he reaches the table, he grabs his dad's hand and he decays it, as he proclaims that there is a bad feeling inside of him and he can't control it. Following this, we then see Tenko, now wearing his iconic hand fetishist's dream getup, Yoshikage Kira eat your heart out, as he confronts and kills the 2 hooligans who had pushed him aside earlier that day. All For One and Dr. Ojiko are atop a nearby building watching this go down. All For One comments how he told Tenko to wear the hands so that he will never forget the bad feelings deep down inside of him. And he also mentions how Tenko, as a result of going through intense trauma, has locked away any and all memories of his family, and is also subconsciously holding back the true power of his quirk. Basically, All For One says that after killing his own family, Tenko nerfed himself, and shoved all of his memories into the deepest and darkest parts of his mind. This also explains why baby Tenko was able to absolutely obliterate an entire house, while in Season 1, Shigaraki was only able to tickle Aizawa's elbow. But anyway, after killing the 2 citizens, Tenko notes that although he still has a sick feeling in his stomach, he also feels calm, as if no matter what he does, he will be forgiven for his actions. And All For One notes that Tenko has taken his first steps into becoming the symbol of fear. After this event, Tenko returns home, where he is greeted by All For One, who congratulates his young disciple for not giving in to fear and for doing what he wanted to do. As a reward for doing a job well done, All For One gives his, I suppose you could say, adopted son a present, and that present is more hands. To make sure that Tenko never forgets his first steps into villainy, All For One awards Tenko with the hands of the 2 people he killed, and also an extra hand to make up for the one he previously destroyed. I wonder who that could belong to. Then, like a reluctant grandchild having to put on grandma's ugly Christmas homemade sweater, All For One gets Tenko to try on the new hands. Once fully suited up, All For One then christens the young boy, who he claims has now been reborn as Tomura Shigaraki. Tomura being a play on the word Tomura, which means to mourn, as he will now be someone who brings mourning to others, and Shigaraki being All For One's last name. And with this, the story then cuts back to the present, where we see a heavily injured yet smiling Shigaraki walking towards a very angry Re-Destro. Shigaraki explains that he now remembers everything, how he killed his whole family and how he purposely killed his own dad. But he reassures us that now he feels no guilt or regret about it whatsoever. And as he takes off the hand on his face and destroys it, he proclaims that he has no need for it anymore. The battle between Re-Destro and Shigaraki then recommences, with Re-Destro charging Shigaraki using 100% of his power. However, in a surprise twist, Shigaraki counters the giant's full power attack with ease, by decaying it before he can even finish launching it. Re-Destro, realizing that his full power won't be enough to take down this newly awakened and enlightened Shigaraki, decides it's time to go beyond, and he quickly equips Detnerat's most advanced support item, Claustro, which is a giant mechanized suit that puts an extra burden on his body, increasing his stress levels to 150%. Now, I'm not exactly sure how that makes any sense, but hey, let's roll with it. Following this, the story quickly cuts away to everyone else, where we see that Gigantamakia has nearly made it to Shigaraki, and all of the MLA members have started to make their way in the same direction, in a desperate attempt to save their beloved leader from the incoming monster. Mr. Compress gets in contact with Dr. Ujiko, who refuses to teleport the League out of the city, as he wants to see just what Shigaraki will do when pushed into a corner. But after this brief side note, we then get straight back into the main event. Re-Destro, now fully suited and booted, makes another charge at Shigaraki, hoping his attempt will be more successful while he is all juiced up. Unfortunately for the balding orange-haired CEO, history does in fact repeat itself, as once again Shigaraki easily counters his advances, this time destroying the entire right hand of Re-Destro's suit. Having bested his enemy's ultimate attack, Shigaraki laughs about how using 150% of his power is basically Re-Destro going plus ultra, and he puts his hand on the ground and activates his quirk. Once Tomura's hand touches the ground, he begins to get a flashback of All For One, who told him that it doesn't matter what he does in life, as long as he can hate and be happy, he will be free. And with this, Tomura Shigaraki's quirk fully awakens, and as the laughter of the new symbol of fear echoes throughout the land, Shigaraki goes plus ultra, utterly obliterating Daika City. Now, when I say obliterated, I mean he Exodia obliterated the majority of this entire city out of existence. Once the smoke fully clears from this destruction, we see that Re-Destro just narrowly avoided being killed by this cataclysmic attack, although he did have to amputate his own legs to prevent the effects of decay from traveling up his body. Shigaraki then approaches the now severely weakened and ultimately defeated Re-Destro and prepares to finish him off. However, just as he reaches his hand out, all of the remaining MLA and League members, including Gigantamakia, arrive at the battleground. Re-Destro, knowing he is about to be killed, tells his men to cease fire, and in a surprising twist, he proclaims that Shigaraki will be the new leader of the MLA. It's revealed that Re-Destro says this because after having fought with Shigaraki and seeing his awakening and enlightenment firsthand, he believes that Shigaraki doing whatever the hell he wants with a smile on his face is the greatest form of freedom anyone could have. And the MLA's main goal is to achieve true freedom. Gigantamakia, in seeing Re-Destro surrender himself and his entire army to Shigaraki, begins to see All For One in his master's apprentice, and he begins to cry, finally accepting Shigaraki as All For One's true successor. After Re-Destro offers his army to Tomura, Shigaraki realizes that he and the League are still pretty broke. So, to solve their money problems, he chooses to spare Re-Destro's life in exchange for all of the benefits his position as CEO offers. And with this, the story then skips ahead to 1 week later, where we learn that the destruction of Daika City was played off in the media as an attack on the city by a random group of villains, and we see key MLA and League members hanging out in a pretty familiar forest mansion. Here, it's revealed that the League and MLA have officially joined forces under the rule of Shigaraki, now calling themselves the Paranormal Liberation Front. The surviving key members of the MLA, including a now floating chair-bound Re-Destro and the OG members of the League, have all been assigned as Shigaraki's main lieutenants. And episode 24 comes to an end as Dr. Ujiko gets in contact with Shigaraki to let him know that he has passed the minimum requirements of his test, and he offers to give Tomura great power. Overall, this was another pretty good episode. Just like RJ Martinez has said in the comments, the sound design in the last few episodes has been absolutely killing it, and this episode is no exception. Some standout moments include when Shigaraki faced off against 100% confront Re-Destro, and the horrifying moment when Shigaraki goes plus ultra. It really sets the tone and makes you aware of not only the insane power of Shigaraki's quirk, but also just how terrifying it can really be in the wrong hands. Or the right ones, depending on how you're looking at it. The pacing in this episode was fine, and I think they did justice to a lot of epic and vital moments. The unveiling of the Paranormal Liberation Front was great to see, and the little detail of the League members being impatient while Re-Destro makes his grandiose speech was a nice little touch to the scene. I have to say, I have no real complaints about this episode. It hit every note it was supposed to, and it was really enjoyable. The payoff of this arc would have definitely benefited if the beginning wasn't as rushed, but it still worked in the context of what was portrayed. Next week, we have the final episode of this season. I think I'm gonna make a long season review after it's done, just to fully get across what I enjoyed, what I didn't enjoy, what I thought worked well, and thought didn't work at all with this season. It'll be a pretty long video, so you can look forward to that in the future. But let me know what you thought of this episode. If you liked this video, don't forget to leave a like. For more My Hero content, subscribe to the Lunchtime crew. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Plus Ultra.